Perfect. Yo, what is good, Sixers Nation? Welcome on in another edition of the show. We're getting used to it, man. Sixers Weekly, presented on 2 channels. Philly Take with RB, run it back, Philly. We're just in the off season right now, man. You guys have been showing love to this show, so hopefully it's something we can continue, man. Welcome back on in. I'm RB. We got DJ Eastwood. Shout out to the chat. Let us know you're in here. Hit that thumbs up button, man. We're going to talk about this new little project going on today with the Sixers. We're going to talk Summer League standouts, who we think could make the roster, all that good stuff. And we'll break down our roster prediction and give our best starting lineup, man. Talk about some different things. We got a lot coming up, as always, man. Welcome on in to the show. RB, once again, Philly Take with RB. DJ Eastwood, run it back, Philly. What's going on, DJ?
Yeah, man. Hanging out, enjoying the summer, enjoying the off season. Trying to keep the content going for the people, trying to keep the content going for my own sanity. And hey, listen, man, it just seems to be never a dry time. There's always something for us to cover, especially when it comes to Philadelphia sports. And that has a lot to do with you fans, man. You guys are locked in 365, and we love you for it.
Yeah, absolutely incredible, man. Once again, hit that like button wherever you are watching the show tonight. Let us know you're in here. We'll take your calls, maybe a few of them later on in the show. We already got 120 plus in here. Like DJ said, you guys are the best, man. Hit that thumbs up. Give us your thoughts. How are you feeling on this Thursday night? Another edition of Sixers Weekly. And we'll get it started, man. But, nice little summer night. You would think in the middle of July that there's literally nothing to talk about. But somehow we keep making this happen, man. And I love it. I love it. So we're going to get started, man. Just to go a little bit light, or we would think. A little idea came out this morning. Woke up fresh at like 8 o'clock. And they're already talking about a new development project. Harrison Blitzer, what the Sixers could potentially have a new arena coming. Hold on, let's take a look at it, man. Let's take a look at it. So this came out today. Sixers page on Twitter putting out that there is a potential proposal in line to build a new stadium called 76 Place at Market East, the Fashion District, right in Center City, man. Moving away from the Wells Fargo, a new stadium, a stadium dedicated to only the Sixers. What would happen with the Flyers at that point? What would happen to the Wells Fargo Center? I'll tell you what, the way the Flyers are playing, they are not. Maybe by 2031, it'll be different. But, right now, I don't know if they can sustain that. But anyway, this is a potential proposal for a new home in 2032. That is 10 years away. Joel Embiid would be 38 years old. Tyrese Maxey would be 32. But hey, our owners, man, they always have some kind of business project in mind. Just to remind everybody, last year they had proposed for a new stadium near Penn's Landing. That got denied, I believe. And here we are, a new project in place. DJ, your thoughts?
Yeah, 10 years out. So, it's funny how people were freaking out on the internet today on something that's going to be done potentially in 2032. And I would imagine there's a lot of things that they would have to get approved anyway. So it's not like there's 100% chance this even happens. But that's maybe just how bored we are in the middle of the summer with sports. And maybe they planned, they announced it at a press release. Or some kind of press release. I don't know. Josh Harris flew in on his helicopter from Miami or whatever. They seem to plan it at the right time. Like, hey, we haven't gotten much attention lately. Let's drop this on all the fans. So it's interesting. Of course, the first thought is negative from the Philadelphia fan base because we have such a perfect like layout of all of our sports teams down there. The Xfinity Live Center in the middle of all the stuff and everything, all in the same area. You can walk from Phillies game to a Sixers game to an Eagles game, and it's nice to have. So of course, initially people are going to be like, no, don't change it. But change is necessary sometimes, and change is something that business-minded people are always going to be looking at. And once I read about it, and once I started to take opinions from people that were more on the positive side, and then you see the benefits of having an arena in Center City and what it does for the economy and what it does for just your city in general, the taxable income that it brings all around itself it can't be a negative for the city. People are, they're yelling about parking. I mean, look, there's a lot of downtown arenas, LA, DC, plenty of them. I don't think anybody's planning to drive their car down there and park in front of the arena. Like, it is what it is. People want to be upset about things. They're upset about this. But, yeah, 10 years from now, maybe all of downtown Philly looks a little bit different 10 years from now. Maybe they can clean it up a little bit in 10 years before that arena goes up because,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Things would have to look a lot different. I mean, we don't even know what things are going to look like in a couple years, let alone 10. I agree with you. I don't think anybody would really be wanting or desiring to drive downtown and park, putting their hazard lights on. I mean, it would just be a mess. They would have to kind of work some agreement out, in my opinion, maybe with the SEPTA or just, I don't know. They would have to work out some type of business agreement as they, usually do. And I don't know. I have a mixed opinion about it. Like the original reaction, like you said, everybody was just frustrated about it. I thought it would actually be a little bit cool. Maybe you're out with your buddies and you're downtown and you're hanging out. And maybe people that, want to capture different moments, right? You have tons of fans flooding out after the game. It's not like they're just going to get in their car and go right on 95. Like they're there. People are going to be hanging out, standing around the stadium there. I've seen a couple places like that before. I don't know. Maybe it'd be a way to connect with the fans, but I do understand the glaring cons, the parking, the security, all that type of stuff. It would be interesting, but it's weird. I just see this as being such a Harrison Blitzer type of thing, right? They wanted to expand, to a regional network. They wanted to include the Mets, the Devils, all that types of things. And I knew something like this was going to come. Who knows if they're even going to put it into place? Again, this is a proposal, so nothing is even near or concrete yet. But I don't know. I could see it from both ways. I mean, how cool would it be to go out there and get a piece of content, right? Like just hanging out in front of the stadium and, maybe we just won a game, hit a great buzzer beater and people are coming out, on fire. They're pumped up. I think it would be kind of cool in that sense.
Every time I go to Philly, I drive there, and I hate every second of driving there. If a change like that forces me to take the train from where I'm at to, downtown, and then maybe, wherever the location is, I'm sure there's the one train station is right near there. So, if you're forcing me to take a train and I don't have to drive, maybe I'll like that better. The expressway isn't exactly express at this point.
As someone who goes to Philly, I can tell you, nobody likes driving to Philly. It is the absolute worst thing. I would rather be stuck in traffic for a couple hours than have to go to Philly. I just can't do it. And think about if you go to Philly games, if you're someone that's from the area or you go to a lot of games, you already know how bad it is in general trying to get out of the Wells Fargo parking lot. I mean, imagine Center City, right? I would not be driving to any games.
Yeah, the last time I went to we went to the Atlanta Hawks playoff game, I was right next to the building at 6:30 and I missed tip-off at 7:15, I swear on my life. Yeah. It took me more than 45 minutes to get from next to the building to inside the building. It was take the train and Uber. If you're forcing me to do that, I guess I'll do it. But again, like, look, SEPTA in the entire city could use an upgrade. So, Josh, why don't you just buy that too? Why don't you just buy the whole public transportation in the whole city, redo everything if you want to do that, And, that's how I see it. It's just another step in billionaires' ultimate plan to take over the world. So,
it's very interesting though. Like, I don't know how I would feel. Obviously, I mean, this would be down the road, but I would want to see Joel Embiid rocking out at this place. I don't want to see a 38-year-old Joel Embiid at the tail end of his career. I want to see it if it happens, with the squad we have. But unfortunately, I don't think that would really happen.
No, probably not.
But hey, I mean, we'll see. Joel Embiid actually did comment on the post on Twitter. It was pretty funny, being Joel Troel Embiid as we know him. And he replied with this. He said, 2032 with the old guy. Look, he knows, man. He would be the odd man out. Hopefully he'll be playing by then, but he knows, man. At this point, I think the Wells Fargo's here for a long time, man. And we got to win a championship in that building. We have to. A lot of history, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thinking of 2032, hey, look, maybe Tyrese Maxey is on like a Damian Lillard level by that point, and he's 32 years old, and he's on like his second Supermax contract, and he refuses to leave Philly, and maybe we can look at it in a bright spot like that way. 32-year-old Tyrese Maxey could be a superstar. We never know.
Yeah, hey, I think he will be. I'm excited, man. But yeah, give us your thoughts. How do you feel about the new stadium proposal? Let us know in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button. People appreciate everybody being here live on 2 channels. Be sure to hit that thumbs up. Let's talk a little bit about Summer League, man, because we're dividing this show into different parts. We're going to talk about our lineups, which I know everybody's excited to hear about. It's been a long time coming. But let's kind of just recap Summer League a little bit. I'll be honest, I'm not going to sit here and, spew out stats because, getting down to the tail end of Summer League, you're going up against, guys that are barely scratching the surface of the G League and the NBA. So I'm not really looking at the stats. I know Isaiah Joe shot exceptionally well. At one point, he was shooting like 55% from deep. He averaged 13 a game. You had Trevelyan Queen, who had a couple nice games. Bassey. Overall, looking at this Summer League roster, what is your takeaway? Any guys that surprised you? Any players you think are locks to make the roster? How do you feel?
I really was pretty much underwhelmed with the Summer League this year. I usually look forward to it. Thinking about Paul Reed, Charles Bassey, what we thought of them last year, the minutes we thought they should have got at the backup center position or the backup 4 position, or Isaiah Joe. Yelling about why won't Doc play him the whole season. So I just felt like we had at least 3 NBA-level players going into the Summer League, the 2 little mini-series or whatever you want to call them. I was going to call it a season. But I was just kind of underwhelmed that nobody really stood out to me as, like, that's definitely an NBA player. Like, you didn't get a guy that kind of looked like he's too good for the Summer League or didn't belong. And on the other side, like, Romp replied to me today on Twitter and said don't take too much either way from the Summer League because it's kind of glorified pickup basketball. Like, I wanted to see a lot of Charles Bassey offensively, and I didn't see much. But in the grand scheme of things, I didn't see much of an offensive, like, game plan whatsoever. It's just kind of, guys just out there trying to get their own shine, trying to help their own name, trying to maybe make a G League team, trying to maybe make a 2-way contract on an NBA team. So you can't take too much away from it. But, I don't want to be ultra negative, but I didn't see anything like that stood out to me as this guy's definitely an NBA player. I think Bassey and Reed can fill in the 10 minutes at the backup center position for Joel just because of their rebounding ability and their athleticism, their youth, and their defensive ability. And maybe Paul Reed, learns not to foul every 36 seconds. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't blown away. I'm getting more towards the let's sign some veteran minimum guys and move in that direction on a win now mode. It sucks to say, but Isaiah Joe at 6'4", 165. I just saw he's listed at. Is he really listed at 165?
Yeah, I guess so.
now that I think about, like, I just can't picture an NBA player being 6'4", 165. Tyrese Maxey 6'2", 205. You're telling me Tyrese Maxey weighs 40 pounds more than Isaiah Joe? So yeah, nobody really blew me away.
All right, that's
Hopefully
fair.
you're more positive.
I mean, to put it in like perspective, we're not really sitting here analyzing the summer league like we need this guy to step up. We need this guy to be, a gem, right? Because we do have championship aspirations. We're in a championship window. So really we're just looking for maybe a couple guys to pick up rotation spots. I'll also be honest, like I didn't even watch the last couple games. I just got tired of it. I saw what I needed to see. My one takeaway is that Paul Reed, is obviously levels above the G League, and I feel like he's somewhere in between the NBA and the G League. Like he needs to continue to develop. Paul Reed was an absolute menace. He played early on, and that was it. I liked what Isaiah Joe did. I thought he took more of a leadership role. I thought, he's putting the ball on the floor more, which is definitely a bright sight. But like you said, he needs to get into NBA shape. But he showed signs, and to me, he showed the same signs he showed last year, like a guy that could step in, and if you need him to, when given the opportunity, can hit a couple shots. Other than that, though, I feel as Sixers fans, I say this a lot. We say this, like we overvalue guys a lot, and a lot of people were on the Bassey train. I mean, he's an exciting prospect. You got him in the 50s, right? Looks like he could be a big shot blocker one day. But let's be honest, again, we're in championship mode, right? You look at Andre Drummond, who got signed for $3 million a year with the Chicago Bulls, and you're starting to think to yourself, like, the Sixers couldn't pull that deal off, right? I mean, Daryl Morey's had a great offseason, but I'm looking at some of these centers and even some guys that are available. Like right now, if you ask yourself, do you trust Charles Bassey to be the backup center on a championship-ready team? I don't know the answer to that question. I have to see it more. And I think we're going to have to play these young guys. Daryl Morey, as we've said, is literally forcing the hand of Doc Rivers. But, this was an opportunity. We talk a lot about guys taking advantage of opportunities. Like Bassey didn't come out and really jump off the screen for me. So, he's still developing. He's got to get better. Maybe Paul Reed can take some of those minutes. But again, he's a little bit too small as well. So I think one glaring thing we need to keep our eye on is the backup center position. And other than that, I thought a couple guys showed some potential, but they'll likely be in the G League. Personally, I think Isaiah Joe will make the roster, and I think Paul Reed obviously will make the roster. And I think you have to put Bassey on there. Other than those three, I don't know any other givens in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. I just think you're right about overvaluing, and people are watching this G League or this summer league stuff, and they're really, some people are taking it way too serious. I just the way people are talking about the performances is as if Isaiah Joe was out there dropping 50 points or dropping 35 a game. Like clearly an NBA scorer playing in the summer league dropping, like he wasn't. He averaged 16 and a half points per game in the summer league. It wasn't that crazy to me. He shot good numbers, good efficiency. And yeah, if you're talking, versus Korkmaz, I'm Isaiah Joe all day. But nobody blew me away. And I was kind of underwhelmed by Charles Bassey. I just thought I would see more of an offensive arsenal from Bassey. But it is what it is. And I think I'm right with you on who makes the team. So there's to start the season, there's 15 roster spots and two-way contracts. Am I correct about that? So that leaves you with 17. And I think, it'll be – I looked at it so many times trying to figure out the math by myself. Maybe you or someone in the chat can help me out. But I think it's probably going to be a toss-up between guys like Trevelyan Queen, Isaiah Joe, Jaden Springer. It'll be a toss-up between like end-of-the-bench guys of who's on the two-way contracts and who's in the G League. And I'm sure we'll get into that. But, I agree. I think we overvalue what we're seeing in the Summer League a little bit too much. You have to really imagine what they look like on the NBA level.
Yeah, I agree. I also have to look into the two-way contracts. I believe Trevelyan Queen is a guy that could be, potentially signed with that. And he was already signed with a deal, but I believe Trevelyan Queen will probably bounce back and forth between the NBA and the G League. I just, I saw a lot of turnovers from Trevelyan Queen. I don't think he's ready yet. I thought, again, he showed flashes. But I'm really looking at the guys that have been up here, last year. And when I look at Jaden Springer, that was the one guy again. Like, I just don't see it. I talked about this last week, the week before. Like, I just don't see any way of him making the team at all this year. And it sucks because that's a first round pick. That's a guy who, if you draft well, could be a contributor on this team who's trying to win. But yeah, I didn't really see anybody else that I think is an instant day one given. I think Reed will be there. I think Bassey will be there. And honestly, if I have to speak looking into the future, like you said earlier, I think we might go out and get another player or two, right? We, even have a few more spots now. I think we, obviously we would have to get down to 15, but we have, a little bit of cap space with James Harden's discount with the official terms coming out. We might be able to get a backup center for very cheap. And you might have to explore those options.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you look at the summer league type of players, the level they're at, and you picture them joining this Sixers NBA team and contributing, you look at like what role would these players play, and it's most likely a catch and shoot role. You know what I mean? If they're getting on the floor in staggered lineups of Tyrese, Maxey, James Harden, Joel Embiid, maybe in certain instances, depending on what Doc Rivers does, which is always pretty much unpredictable. But it's always going to be pretty much a catch and shoot role. So which guys are catch and shoot? Yeah, Isaiah Joe is. You don't want him to try to be creating his own shot really in the NBA. I just don't think he's physical enough to do that consistently off the bench. But catch and shoot, last year I say it a lot. We had a spurt of games where we were shooting 17% on wide open threes, which is a ridiculous number for NBA players, and Isaiah Joe can make wide open threes. So I see roles for certain guys, definitely, and I think Paul Reed and Bassey, and I think Isaiah Joe's probably the closest for me to having some sort of NBA role. Unfortunately, Jaden Springer, I'm not seeing really an NBA role for him at all. I think he's undersized for how he plays. I think he plays very physically. He uses his athleticism and kind of jumps into people and plays real physical, and I don't think that translates into the NBA very well. I think he'll basically get his shot blocked into the third row trying to play like that against NBA talent. So I'm not seeing the floor stretching ability I think that Jaden Springer would need to fit into a role on this squad. He just doesn't naturally catch and shoot the ball. He naturally catches it and just drives hard and jumps and hangs and gets the and one, and that works in the summer league sometimes, but I don't think he can do that in the NBA, at least right now. I think he needs to develop more of a consistent perimeter game, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. A couple other guys that I thought played decent in the summer league, Grant Ryler, Cassius Winston. Unfortunately, we just don't have spots for those guys. They're more kind of like pure point, IQ players, a little bit older. We just don't have the room for them. One other guy that I'll mention is Philip Petrusev. I think he's still going to, stay overseas. He's a monster shot blocker, though. If he could develop, any type of offensive game, because honestly, he was kind of touted as a bit of a shooter coming out of college. If he could develop more of an offensive game, you never know what could happen. He's a little bit bigger, I believe, than Paul Reed. And he kind of impressed me. But again, it was just on the defensive side of the ball. We know how that story goes. I don't think he'll end up making it.
Yeah, and because Jaden Springer was drafted in the first round, he is on a rookie guaranteed contract, so you can't really just – I mean, the smartest thing to do would be to throw him in a trade package, something like that, than to just, cut him and take that salary hit. So
Yeah, I agree. Shouts to everybody in the chat, man. 300 plus in here. Hit that thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe, man. Appreciate everybody being here. Bit of a downtime, but we are talking the good stuff, man, as always. And we're about to get into our actual lineup predictions for the Sixers. We're going to talk how we feel. I'm definitely excited to hear your take on this and the chat. And we'll end up taking a couple calls. So call into the show if you want to give your opinion. 508-924-3784. Do us a favor, hit that thumbs up. Let's talk about, first and foremost, the starting lineup. I think we're going to agree on this, and I think it's quite obvious, knowing, Doc Rivers, his history. If you follow this team, if you follow all his teams, what the starting five is going to be. And I'm not sure how you feel, but I think we could all come to an agreement that it's likely going to be Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, PJ Tucker, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
No, I definitely think it's PJ Tucker at the small forward position. Now, I want to say this because people have negative reactions to that right off the bat, because when they think about a small forward, you're thinking about the prototypical NBA small forward, the 6'7", 240, Jaylen Brown, Zach LaVine, somebody like that. We don't have a prototypical three.
We don't have fours that put it on the floor.
No. And I think people need to look at this team this way. It doesn't have to be a prototypical small forward. Yeah. It doesn't really have to be even position by position. It can be as simple as breaking it down like this. James Harden has the ball. The defense pays attention to him. Joel Embiid is in the paint. The defense pays attention to him. All PJ Tucker needs to do is stand in the corner. That's literally it. Just stand in the corner. And by the way, he led the league last year at 46.5% on corner threes, and 88% of his three-point shots last season were from the corner. So Daryl Morey just did exactly what he should have done, in my opinion. Just get a guy to stand in the corner who's not just a threat, but is literally the best threat of standing in the corner. He's a Danny Green, but better. And, I know somebody in the chat said, should Matisse Thybulle start? That's a big no from me because, again, your only role at the small forward position on this roster construction, James Harden, Maxey flying around, Tobias, Joel in the paint, is to stand in the corner, and you have to be a threat to shoot. I don't think Thybulle fits in there at all. PJ Tucker, stand in the corner, man. Watch the defense collapse, catch the ball, and shoot it. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, when you think about this Sixers team, we're not conventional, right? Which kind of teams have a center that has the capabilities of Joel Embiid? It's been a while since we've had a guy at the three who could really put it on the floor, bring more to it. But now when you look at some of the teams and how they're building out their lineups, do we really need that? Maybe, like you said, we take the position aspect away and we have two dominant guards who can play on ball, off ball, staggering with pick and roll with Joel Embiid, and you have two other shooters on the floor. Which is interesting, right? And I agree. I think PJ Tucker is just like a Danny Green type of mold, right? Put him in the corner, spot him up, and play good defense. And I think it's the exact type of player that we need with more toughness as well.
Yeah. Brandon Katz, I just happened to glance at that. It said PJ can play the 5 when Embiid is on the bench. I don't know about a 6'5" center out there. Maybe the
small ball center before
in Houston, right?
Yeah, with D'Antoni.
I mean, that was a little bit extreme. I don't, especially considering Doc Rivers' traditionalism. I don't know if he would ever go that, but in small lineups, I could see him at the 4, things like that, stretching the floor. But yeah, man, just stand in the corner, catch and shoot the ball. And I agree. I don't think positions really matter. This is not a conventional team. It's never going to be a conventional team with Joel Embiid on the floor. This is something a center having this much dominance and demanding this much attention hasn't been seen since Shaquille O'Neal, and that's people grew to think that it doesn't exist anymore. You can't win like this. It's not a thing in the NBA anymore. I'm on the side of it's not a thing in the NBA anymore just because nobody's been good enough at the center position for it to be a thing. You have that guy. And that you just need the players that fit around him. And especially with Tobias Harris, not being a high volume like three-point shooter, I think, the small forward just needs to stand in the corner, catch the ball, and shoot the ball, man. And I think PJ Tucker's a perfect guy. Perfect guy.
Yeah, I agree. And Tucker's a guy that's really started everywhere in his career. So it seems likely that he will be, that same guy here in Philly. Before we talk about a few other lineups, because I definitely want to talk about some ins and outs, right? Maybe some different lineup swaps, maybe a potential, underrated type of lineup or, bench lineups. We'll talk about it all. This article came out, I believe, earlier today. Just wanted to pull it up real quick. It was an article saying that the Sixers were named as the third best starting lineup in the NBA. And I think that's interesting, right? We remember back 2018, we were touted as one of the best, maybe even the best, right? When you look at Redick and Butler with these guys. And we talked about this now, like this has been a masterful offseason. It hasn't been, a lot of noise backing it, but it's really been the sneaky underrated offseason, right? Because you shed some salary, you get Harden to take a pay cut, you bring some familiarity, some toughness, and you look at this starting lineup, and I mean, I kind of agree. Like we do have on paper, at least, one of the better starting lineups in the NBA.
Yeah, I completely agree. I went over that list on a stream that I had. It's Golden State and Boston, number 1 and number 2, as far as starting lineups go, and it's Philly at number 3. I don't think the list is teams overall, but at the same time, there's a lot of ifs with this team. Of course, there's a if Joel Embiid's healthy. There's a if James Harden comes back in shape. There's a if Tyrese Maxey continues to climb and develop at the rate that he has been developing. If all of those things happen, this is very possibly the third best team in the NBA, and could possibly be the NBA championship this upcoming season. I really believe that. And yeah, I agree that the starting lineup. I mean, Harden, Maxey, PJ, Tobias, Embiid.
Yeah,
I don't see a weakness in that lineup.
Yeah, hey, I agree, man, and I think it would be a very, very lethal starting lineup. But obviously, you need to make sure your bench is producing as well. You need a full type of production team, and I think the Sixers definitely added in that category, and I think they need, to potentially build more. But this is the season. I said this yesterday. I truly believe this is the best chance for Joel Embiid at this point in his career to win a championship based on the lineups. Like I think this is the best, well put together type of roster. And it might not have been like the sexiest signings or this or that, but I honestly think right now this is the best shot.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that was, once Daryl got past the Ben Simmons hurdle and finally, got into the clear and was able to gather his thoughts and really plan, okay, now I can really look at players and I have this much money and this is what I can do. He went after a specific type of player. And I said it already 600 times on this stream. Guys that can catch and shoot.
Yeah.
That's it. PJ, Daniel House, all he's done his whole career. A couple of those years next to who? James Harden. All he's literally done is run down the floor, waited for James to get double teamed, catch the ball, and shoot it right when he catches it. And he shot 41% 2018-19 with the Houston Rockets when they were on that crazy run of like 40 plus 3-point attempts per game and all that stuff. I totally agree. I think for the first time, I think all of the experiments that were had by Elton Brand or maybe Brett Brown or maybe people above them that shouldn't have been making decisions. I think all of those experiments that failed have been cleaned up outside of maybe the overpaying of Tobias Harris, but I think is the closest we've been to having like the actual right type of players around Joel Embiid.
And one quick point to that, because I never got your take on the actual concrete details of the contract, but I mean, just what a tremendous job by James Harden, right? And if you think about this, the Sixers really have a good shot of trying to go all the way this year. And just say Harden ends up going elsewhere, right? Well, guess what? After 2024, we're going to have a lot of cap space because Tobias Harris will be off the books. Harden will be off the books. You might be able to sign and trade, get something back. This is talking into the future, but, like you just said, we cleaned up the mess. And, I mean, it can only get better from here, right? Even if those two guys end up leaving in the next couple of years and you have Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, and a heck of a lot of cap space, I mean, This is looking good, in my opinion, in terms of what Daryl Morey has done. I think it's been a bit of a slow process, but he's had to, inherit a lot. And I've said that before. And I think he's got a vision in mind. I do. And I think this is the best shot right here. And I think, we're about to go all in. I do.
Yeah, I agree. And I also, man, I don't think anybody's been talking enough about Tyrese Maxey and what he did from year 1 to year 2. This kid is like, They had to tell him to take a break when the season was over. Like, go, like, lay, like, suntan on a boat. Go do something. Don't play basketball. He just wakes up and plays basketball. It's all he does. It's all he's ever done. And that's why he did what he did in just one off season. And I see no reason for him to not make another jump. I think the only thing last year that I saw from him that still looked like a second-year player was when we got deep into the playoffs, his confidence in questioning himself. And I think he's a smart kid. I think he knows that. And I just think this upcoming season you're going to see a player out of Tyrese Maxey that doesn't look like a 21-year-old. It could very well be a big three in Philadelphia with James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid. So everybody that's in my comments every day, my chat every day saying, we need more, we need another star, we need more, we need more, I think you're underestimating what we have.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think if we get a solid version of Harden, I mean, look at how far we got with the version that we got, right? I mean, things could get very interesting. So we essentially agree on the starting lineup. I think we're not numb to the facts. I actually have an interesting starting lineup. I think I have something that'll blow your mind. And I think that I have put together the most underrated potential starting lineup. But before we get to that, first off, shout out to everybody in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button. Let's go to the phones, man. Call into the show if you want to give maybe a take, a lineup, a thought. 508-924-3784. Let's go to the phones. My guy John in the 609. John, what's going on?
Hey, what's up?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Gentlemen?
How you feeling?
What's going on, man?
Hey, you guys remember that? You remember that old video of Rudy Tomjanovich when he played for the Lakers, getting punched in the face, getting totally cold cocked?
I feel like if I saw it, I might recognize it.
Who punched him?
It was a one-hitter quitter. You probably, if you see, you would definitely recognize it.
I probably would.
Anyway, that's Father Time and me. Because you guys described your prototypical small forward in the NBA would be 6'7" and 240 pounds. That's exactly my physique. I'm 6'7", 240. But I shoot like Matisse Thybulle. I have the athleticism of Todd McCullough. And hey, but at least I would shoot the ball. I wouldn't be like Ben Simmons. The ball would get out of my hands.
Facts.
But anyway, I think you guys are correct with the starting lineup. I think PJ Tucker is going to be our starting three. I don't want Thybulle in there whatsoever. I was listening to Philly Sports Talk the other night that said that Matisse Thybulle may be the savior of this team. He might be the biggest proponent of us potentially going further than we have in previous seasons.
Yeah.
And that scares the living shit out of me because I don't have any trust in that man whatsoever. Yeah. I don't think he's gotten better. Actually, what I think has happened is, during his rookie year, our fan base loved him. He was this young stud and we projected him to get better. Well, we then drafted another young stud who took his the fan love went all to Maxey, and now I think Thybulle feels this immense amount of pressure to be better than what he actually can be. I don't know how much he practices his shot. I'm sure he's probably in the gym consistently, but I think he feels the pressure of needing to be better than what he actually can, at least offensively. And his defense is overrated, by the way.
Yeah. Appreciate the call. It's crazy. Like, I feel like we haven't even talked about Matisse Thybulle at all, like this whole offseason, other than he needs to get better, he needs to shoot. Like, when we talk about like the lineups and we talk about, like putting this team together, like, has anybody even mentioned Matisse Thybulle? Maybe this is good. Maybe he can, kind of undershadow a little bit and get back to what, he started to show a little bit of potential of. But man, I kind of forget about him sometimes.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I don't even really think about Matisse Thybulle when I'm thinking about a starting lineup. Then I think about 8-9 man rotation. I'm thinking about Bassey and Paul Reed being the rotating backup center. I'm thinking Daniel House and DeAnthony Melton and Shake Milton and I was going to ask you a couple minutes ago, what is Matisse Thybulle's even like portion of the bench minutes at this point? And I think here's what happened with Matisse Thybulle. I think NBA defenses did almost exactly what they did to Ben Simmons with Matisse Thybulle. His rookie year, they didn't know anything about him. So they were, hey, let's guard this guy. They were guarding him out at the three-point line. Not that he's a threat to shooting, and it's not like he was putting the ball on the floor and blowing by people, but he had opportunities to cut to the basket. He had a lot more opportunities to make things happen in space because he could run past his defenders. Then all of a sudden, some genius figured it out. They said, hey, just don't guard him. Just don't go anywhere close to him. That's exactly what they did to Ben Simmons and took his one-on-one game, his driving ability, everything away. And when you saw Matisse Thybulle in the Toronto series, the first possession, they passed it to him. Tyrese Maxey passed it to him in the corner, and I was yelling, why are we still passing to this guy? He was so wide open, and they weren't anywhere close to him, and it just took his game completely away, and it made him really unplayable. And I think defenses are going to continue to do that because he's not a threat to shoot. He's not a threat to dribble drive. He's not a threat to do anything once he crosses the half-court line. So it sucks, but I'm questioning what is his – where does he even really fit in the rotation at all?
Yeah, I think he's more of like a spark plug when you need a couple big stops. And I feel like he's always been that player. Like you said, rookie year, very exciting. People didn't really know about him. But there's a couple areas of fault. Like the Sixers need to be pushing this guy to shoot multiple times a game. There were games this year where he hit a couple threes and then he didn't come back and shoot for a couple games. That doesn't make sense. But I'm going to add one thing onto what you said. I think Matisse Thybulle was such a flashy defensive player. Obviously, we went through the whole Ben Simmons thing, but I think Matisse Thybulle, started to get a lot more foul calls, and I think it really messed up his mental. It took him out of games. When he comes in and he gets 2 fouls in the first quarter, it's like, how do you play this guy? Like, what do you do? Right? Rookie year, 4 steals a game, 3 steals and 3 blocks. He was on top of the world defensively. And then as he started to rack up these more fouls, and he hasn't really kept up with that, heading into the second year, the third year, he's kind of just staying complacent. And he needs to develop an offensive game or else, I don't know. Is he going to get weeded out at this point? It's crazy, man. It really is.
Yeah, offensive players might have studied a little bit on how to get him in foul trouble because, good players watch tape all the time. They scout teams. And, they might have said to themselves, hey, listen, when this guy's guarding you, if you get past him, all you got to do is pump fake, and he's jumping on your head every single time. So, maybe they learned that this is just get the guy in foul trouble, and it's not hard to get him in foul trouble because he's going to take the bait every single time because he wants to highlight block, he wants to highlight steal. So I think the NBA started to learn how to deal with his advantages and use them against him.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy, man. Shout out to Jersey Boy with the super chat. Appreciate you supporting the show. Says, is this team better than 2019? On paper, I got to say, yeah, man, because of a certain someone. But like every guy on this roster now can actually shoot the ball. Every guy on this roster can, do something, can contribute in some unique way. And they're a lot tougher now by adding a guy like PJ Tucker. I got to say, yeah. As much as it hurts me to say, because I liked that team a couple of years ago, but I think this one is more polished.
Yeah, I'm with the yes too, and I actually 2 days ago did an entire stream centered around this, and then I clipped out the actual part where I gave all of my 5 reasons of why this team is better than that team, and people initially don't like that because they were on such a high with that Jimmy Butler team, but I just think that team was carried by very, very good talent in Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid, and it covered up their deficiencies. But at the end of the day, their deficiencies came back to haunt them. The fact that they were playing basketball without a point guard. When your star is a center, you need spacing. You got Tobias Harris, Jimmy Butler, and Ben Simmons. It doesn't even make sense when you really think about it. And it looked good all the way up until the Toronto series and got all the way to Game 7, and it killed them because they didn't have a point guard. They're trying to play point guard with Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons standing in the corner. They're spamming the J.J. Redick dribble handoff every single possession. Yeah. And I just, in the back of my mind, I just knew this can't survive. This can't last forever. So I don't think it's I think this team's better not because of the Jimmy Butler on that team, but it's because of the Ben Simmons off of this team.
I can't add anything to it. I agree. I want to get to my sneaky good lineup that I think will be very intriguing to you. Let's go back for one more call to the phone line, man. Let's go to Bridgeton. Bridgeton, what's going on? Yo, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? My guy Shane.
I think that PJ Tucker is gonna do something that I didn't see from Danny Green, and that's actually he's doing a force foul, like he's gonna stand in the paint, put his arms down, make the defender shove him back and try to get a foul.
Yeah, he brings that level of versatility on defense, man. He could guard 1 through 4, maybe even all 5 at some points. He's a dog, man.
Absolute dog.
Yeah.
You saw the game, I want to say 5 in Miami against Embiid.
Yeah, I mean, he roughed up Embiid. He roughed up Harden. He had us looking crazy, man. And he was the old guy on the floor. It's just nuts, man.
Yep.
And that's something we needed.
Yeah.
I like him because he could do it. Green did on offense, like in the 2020 or last year, whenever Green was in the corner, he just shot crazy from 3 at the corner. You're gonna need that on offense, and he can do that.
Yeah, I agree, man. Shane, appreciate the call, man. Shout out to you.
Thanks, Shane. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, shouts to Shane, man. Consistent caller, man. Always showing love. Let's go to the 604 real quick. 604. Who we got? And where you tapping in from?
It's Andre calling from Vancouver, Canada.
Hey, what's going on, Andre?
What's up?
What's going on, boys? Not much, man. Just counting down the days till the season starts.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of action and stuff. And yeah, I mean, a lot of optimism with the 76ers. The only thing I'm worried about is Daryl Morey doing like a Tom Thibodeau and just like remaking the one team that he had like some sort of success with, because it seems like he's just bringing the old guys back from that Houston Rockets team. You got PJ Tucker, Daniel House, and now apparently trying to go after Eric Gordon. Mike D'Antoni's been like rumored to like possibly replace Doc Rivers. You guys see that like being a problem this coming season?
I see your point and I get it. What I would say to you is, how close was that Houston team, right? I mean, they were on the verge. If Chris Paul didn't get injured, you never know what would have happened. Add Joel Embiid, add some of these other cats, right? I mean, you got to look at what's out there. You got to look at what's available. I think Daryl Morey is just trying to address needs. Now, interesting enough, it falls in line with all the old players he used to have. I think he's done a good job, though.
Yeah, I think I actually have three things on that. I think, if Daryl looked at that old Rockets team and says to himself, what would this team look like with a force in the middle like Joel Embiid, taking the pressure off of everyone on the perimeter and James Harden? I can't think of it in a negative light when I look at it that way. And Daryl Morey knows one thing. He knows James Harden and the players that fit around James Harden. And I think he went after the players that he knows fit around James Harden, and he went after the players that already have chemistry with fitting around James Harden. Those catch-and-shoot type of players, knowing James Harden's game and all of his tendencies, when he tends to let go of the ball, when he tends to kick it out, when he tends to drive and kick or hesitate or whatever, they know where to be. They've played with him. And Daniel House is 29. Yeah, PJ's 37, but I gotta not even look at the number when it comes to him, because he doesn't hustle or look like he's 37 on the court, especially at least last season. So, I just think he went after guys that were available and guys that he knows fits the exact role that you need next to James Harden. So, PJ's age is the only thing that really stands out that people seem to hate. But if they watch him play last season, I can't hate any of the signings. I really can't.
Yeah. What kind of style of play you guys see this season? Because, again, with the Houston Rockets team, they're, one of the fastest teams in the league, 7 seconds or less and stuff.
Yeah.
But then with, Philadelphia last year, they're, one of the slowest paced teams in the league because, you got a center. You're running your offense through him, so you got to slow the game down. Joel Embiid was it's pretty much everywhere dominant. So, I mean, what kind of style of play do you guys see this year? Do you guys see more up-tempo, or you guys see the same, like, slow down, slow pace style?
Yeah. Appreciate the call, man. I think you're going to see a hybrid. I think you're going to see a mix of both. Like, you can do a lot of things with both Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, and Joel Embiid, right? Like, the combinations are you can slow it up when you want to in a half court. You can kind of space everybody out, but then you can also have Tyrese Maxey in the flesh come and taking over and bring in that burst, or you can have a guy like Tobias pushing it in transition. I think that there honestly are a lot of different things we can do if these guys are healthy. And then you can have Joel Embiid come out and take the ball. Like, there are so many different combinations. That's why we constantly talked last year about our offense looking dull at times. There is so much creativity to be had within the guys that we have here, right? And it can't get stale.
Yeah. I'm going to expect this, what we saw last season, heavy pick and roll, because that's what Joel Embiid is. That's what fits his game, and that's what maximizes his skill set and his potential and the team's potential based around his skill set. And maybe that fits James Harden right now at his age also, playing a little bit slower game, more of a half-court pick-and-roll game. In Houston, it was fast-paced. He was also, 28, 29, 27. They were flying up and down the court. He's averaging 36 points per game. It was not even human. It was, we actually take for granted what was happening. I wish I could go back and take it all in while it was happening. I wish I watched more Rockets games at the time. But it wasn't normal basketball at all. And I just think, maybe this fits James Harden at 32, almost 33 years old. I think you're going to see a lot of pick-and-roll half-court stuff. And Tyrese Maxey also can be the kind of counter to that and be the spark, the kid that can just get from one end to the other lightning quick. I'm going to say he's probably top 2 quickest players in the NBA. And, I think you have a lot of dynamics. But I definitely still think it's going to be heavy pick-and-roll just because of James and Joel.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Should be interesting to see what we kind of roll with this year. We got to get innovative, man. We got to get a lot of combinations going. All right, let's talk about some other potential lineups. I don't know if you have any alternative lineups, if you've gotten that far, because let's be honest, PJ Tucker's likely going to start. Doc Rivers is going to run with the 5 that he knows best and the experienced players, right? But I'm going to give you a sneaky, underrated lineup, and I'm going to tell you why I think it could actually work. Hear me out. And if this happens, you can reference back to this show because I don't think anybody's talked about this lineup yet. But think about this potential lineup, right? Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Daniel House at the 3, Tucker at the 4, and Joel Embiid at the 5. Now, like I said, the likeliness of that happening, probably none. But here's how it would impact the Sixers. Number one, we just talked about the heavy dose of pick and roll, right? You can run it with both Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, along with Joel Embiid. You could either have James Harden running it dominantly with Maxey on the weak side. But what it really does is it gives you 2 high-clip three-point shooters. It gives you 2 guys that are familiar with James Harden. And you can spread the floor a lot better. Daniel House shot above 41% from 3 last year. Tucker shot above 40%. You can spot them up in the corners. You can run that heavy dose of pick and roll, which is almost unstoppable with James Hart, with a healthy Harden and Joel Embiid, or even Tyrese Maxey. And also what it does, when you have some questions about your bench, if some of these guys don't get consistent minutes, if they don't show up, you can plug a guy like Tobias Harris into that 6-man role. And let's be honest, against second-tier, third-tier players, Tobias is going to feast. He's going to go off. Again, he makes too much. It won't happen. But that's my idea of the underrated, sneaky good lineup for the Sixers. And I think it would work, man.
Yeah, I definitely think that would work. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if let's say they do run that lineup a decent amount this season, and then you get to the NBA season and you get to the end of the season and you look at all the efficiency numbers. I wouldn't be totally shocked if that's the most efficient lineup out of all of the lineups they run throughout the whole season. Because, I mean, I've been saying for a long time I don't think Tobias Harris is the perfect fit next to Joel Embiid. I'll take him as the 3rd/4th option I would have preferred to trade him just because of the contract, but it is what it is. It's not a negative to have Tobias Harris on your team. But at the same time, when you look at James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, if you're looking at that as a potential 1, 2, 3 threats to score in the NBA, the two guys you would want at the small forward and power forward would be high percentage, high volume 3-point shooters. And Tobias Harris tried to kind of mold himself into that a little bit more last season when James Harden joined, and he did a good job of it with kind of retraining his mind to like just shoot it right when you catch it. Don't hesitate. Don't jab. Don't try to go into triple threat. You're not taking anybody off the dribble. Just knock it off and shoot the ball. But, yeah, I think that might actually make more sense. It's just that, yeah, it's not going to happen because of the contract. And, some people think Tobias has a little bit of an ego also. Would he be happy being the sixth man? He kind of feels like he earned that $180 million. I am one of the guys. I was one of the guys on that Jimmy Butler team. I deserve that contract. I'm this. Maybe I don't know. I don't take him that way personally because I just think he's a really nice guy if I had to guess. But yeah, that lineup might be more efficient than having Tobias Harris in the starting lineup at all. But it is what it is. He's there.
Yeah. I agree. And another way that it actually impacts the team, one, it makes us more of a versatile defensive lineup, right? Because Daniel House is kind of a two-way wing, right? He can bring a little more athleticism. He can guard a couple different positions. And having him next to PJ Tucker, who is essentially another guy that can do that, would be good for this team. I think we need more of that, especially on the perimeter. And one more way that I think it really impacts his team is what you just referenced. Tobias Harris, is a guy, once again, that at points needs the ball in his hands, right? And when we talk about this team not being traditional, right? Joel Embiid is a guy that also needs the ball in his hands. So at what point do we sit here and look and we say, we have too many dominant ball handlers, man? Tyrese Maxey, Harden, Embiid. You go and add another shooter. Daniel House isn't going to put it on the floor. He's going to sit up on the wing and knock down some shots. Tucker going to spot up in the other corner, knock down some shots. And I just think Tobias would be more utilized, right? Coming off that six-man role, especially when we need more scoring and efficiency. But like you said, I don't think it's going to happen. Just an idea I had. But yeah,
at the same time, also, I've seen a lot of times where Doc Rivers would have a bench lineup out there, and the only starter on the floor was Tobias Harris, and it looked like he couldn't get a bucket to save his life without having some kind of creator on the floor too. So it's almost like, at times I'm like, what is Tobias Harris? Are you an off-ball player, or are you an on-ball player? I don't even know sometimes. So I don't know if he's a six-man really. There are times where he looks like one. There's times where he looks like, he's just, I guess inconsistent is really the word you would use for Tobias Harris in general. Sometimes he's a threat to drop 30. Sometimes he's like just a guy out there.
I just think the way that he plays, the style that he has always possessed, he needs the ball in his hands sometimes. And, are there enough touches to go around? And that's where we get to points like we had last year where we're thinking, why is Tyrese Maxey so passive in the offense? But then we sit here and think, oh, well, Harden and Embiid are running a dominant pick and roll, and Tobias Harris also needs the ball, and Maxey also needs the ball. So, maybe we'll get some more shooting, some more high volume shooting from Tobias. But how about you? Any other potential lineups you like? I know we'll talk a little bit about the bench as well. What do you think? Any other efficient potential stagger swaps? What do you think?
Are we talking about as far as a starting lineup? I think that one that you mentioned would have the most potential to be one. I guess, if players have rest nights, if players have a little bit of a tweaked ankle or something like that, I could see that lineup being a major one. I think people are definitely underestimating DeAnthony Melton and the role that he's going to play on this team. And I just think, he's going to earn a lot of minutes on this squad just because he's a prototypical combo guard that can kind of fit anywhere. So I wouldn't be shocked to see a lot of DeAnthony Melton on this team. A guy that is not afraid to shoot it. 8 3-point attempts per 36 and shoots high 37% on those attempts. Athletic, 24 years old, can get up and down. So, I'm not sure about an exact lineup, but I definitely expect to see a lot of DeAnthony Melton, and I'm excited for it also.
So what is DeAnthony Melton then on this team? Is he the sixth man? Is he the seventh man? You know, what's going to happen? Let's talk then about the bench, right? I mean, what are we going to get from Shake Milton? You know, is he going to be the Shake that once dropped 40 against Doc Rivers and, you know, he fell in love with him? Or is it going to be this Shake that's been in and out the last couple years, right? I think if we get a productive Shake, you got that combo off the bench, Melton and Milton, right? That would be the next headline on any Philadelphia, you know, article or newspaper. Melton and Milton dropping a combined 25. Like, how about that? Or how about a Thibault, right? Do we have enough shooting? Do we have enough ball handling off the bench? Who's going to be that dog, that dominant player that every night we say, okay, we know he's going to show up. We know he's going to do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Shake Milton hasn't, you know, the last time he was, I guess, really healthy was that season where we ended up playing Atlanta in the playoffs and losing that series, but he played a major part off the role, and him and Tyrese Maxey at the time coming off the bench were like that 1-2 guys. We had two players coming off the bench that could give you 15 every single night, and some nights they gave you 15. Some nights they gave you 20 and 18, you know what I mean? So It was like, oh my goodness, we have such a dual threat coming off the bench. Who's going to stop us? And you know how that ended up. But, yeah, I think Melton and Milton could kind of be that 2.0 with Maxey being a starter now. I think those two guys can if Shake can get back to what he was, I think, the year before last. Last year he had ups and downs, and then he got his back injured when Embiid, I think, like, kneed him in the back in, like, an awkward fall or something like that, and he was out for, like, a month, and then he came back and wasn't really himself. He looked hesitant to shoot. I think his shooting form even kind of looked a little bit different to me. It looks more like he's pushing the ball versus like releasing it with a nice like high arc and flick of the wrist. So he just didn't look totally healthy to me last season. So that's another big if when you're talking about Shake Milton. But if he can play the way that he played the year before, I think him and Melton can be two guys off the bench, and that's just even better for us, man, because when him and Maxey, I just remember seeing those two guys, their stats, they would just be, you know, Maxey 15 and Milton 15 off the bench. It was like, man, we have a guaranteed 30 points off the bench. Who's stopping us? Yeah. So
we're going to need the excess of shooting for sure. Real quick, shout out to Jabbar Wright with $10 super chat. Appreciate it. Says, I do not feel amazing about the upcoming season until I see what Doc Rivers is going to do. This team has the potential, yes, but it will depend on Doc Rivers. I mean, I agree 100%, Jabbar. I think that that's really the biggest question we have. You know, will we adjust? Will we adapt? What will he be like? You know, he's taking the team on a trip to South Carolina. He's going back to the championship origins, man. Hey, a little bit of a different feeling, right?
I absolutely can't stand that guy, man. I just absolutely. Doc Rivers, man, I don't even want to talk. I don't even want to talk about him anymore. I want to pretend he doesn't exist. Let me enjoy this team without talking about Doc Rivers. No, I think Daryl Morey did a good job of putting players on the team that he thinks fit. And I don't know if it depends on Doc Rivers. I think when there's issues within a team, when there's clear holes and you need some kind of creative mastermind coach to find a diamond in the rough, Doc Rivers is 100% not going to be that guy. He's not going to do it. He's not going to find a Lou Dort. He's not going to find a young guy that's going to come in and do anything, or he's never going to give him a chance. But I do think if the roster is good enough, it can kind of prevent Doc Rivers from having to make some kind of genius decision. Like these should be the lineups and the bench should be pretty obvious, I think. Now, I'm not putting it past Doc Rivers to do something that I totally don't see coming and completely blow my mind once again. But I just think this is like almost foolproof roster for Doc Rivers. Like it's not too hard to think about. You know, I don't know, man. Like I know that's saying like anybody can do this, but there are definitely NBA teams that I feel like kind of anybody can do it. Just make sure the 5 best players are on the floor, and then, you know, stagger the bench. It's not rocket science. Coaches overthink and overcomplicate things. I don't think it depends on Doc Rivers. I just think if there's major issues, he's not going to be the guy that makes the right decision in that situation.
I agree. And again, referencing what we have before, like, I just hope he, you know, for once is not that stubborn self of him, but we'll have to wait and see. You know, that is just kind of a turnoff to the rest of the fan base sometimes.
He is entirely hated across the entire Sixers community, and it's 100% warranted. He brought it on himself. I mean, he just stands up there and fights with reporters and calls everybody stupid basically every single time there's something goes wrong.
Yeah.
The guy's just a complete ticking time bomb.
Yeah, he's got to reflect, man. Carlos with the $5 super chat says starters Embiid, Tucker, Harris, Maxey, Harden, second team Melton, Niang, Thibault, Paul Reed, and Isaiah Joe. I think that's a little bit too much youth there from Doc, but you bring up an interesting point, and this is one thing I forgot to mention. How about a lineup or, throughout the game, a potential substitution? How about Niang and Tucker next to each other, right? Two guys that can shoot when they get going, they can knock down, they can get hot. And two dogs, man. I mean, they are going to be barking at these other teams. I can't wait to see it. Imagine both of them talking some smack, man. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. I think we got a little bit jaded on him towards the end of the season. Not jaded, but we got a little bit towards the end of the season what he looked like in the playoffs. We kind of forgot what he looked like during the regular season, really, and I think he has a dog mentality, and he's a fun guy to watch. And man, he's a guy that's going to give you everything he has every minute he's on the floor. Not the most athletic guy in the world, but yeah, I totally agree. Those two next to each other are going to be fun to watch. And maybe he's not that old. He didn't look like he was in the greatest shape last year. Maybe he comes back in a little bit better shape. Maybe he has a little bit. I'm not saying some kind of crazy athleticism, but maybe Niang comes back and has a little bit more endurance, I think, than I saw last season, because he just looked like he got kind of worn down towards the end of the season, really.
Yeah, I definitely think he was battling a lot. He talked this off season about getting in better shape. I think he was battling a lot. He had that knee injury, but yeah, when we look at this team, right? So obviously we know the starting unit, the bench lineup. So Tucker, or I'm sorry, not Tucker, Thibault, Melton, Shake probably, Paul Reed. And, where do we go from there? Like, who else makes this team, right? It's going to be hard to do this without actually writing it down, but Niang will be there. Who are the end of the rotation guys? Like, who are those guys that are going to sneak on? I think Isaiah Joe has to be one of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, when you look at the additions that they made, it really pushes guys like that even closer to the end of the bench.
Anything else?
And it's not out of the realm that Isaiah Joe doesn't make it. I think, especially when you get down to a playoff rotation and you think Doc is going to run with 8 or 9 guys. Daniel House, George Niang, Paul Reed, Charles Bassey. There you're looking at 4 off the bench right there. It's tough. It's really tough to call. Maybe Bassey stays in the G League. Maybe Paul Reed's just the backup center, and then they kind of play the game with PJ Tucker staggering minutes, or George Niang at the small ball 5 for certain instances. It's interesting. There's a lot of things that could definitely happen, but I know there's young players that we love, but it's tough with the additions. It really is.
I think you're onto something there, because I'm thinking about Doc Rivers and his historical style, what he likes to do. Is he even going to play Charles Bassey with the way that he looked in Summer League? I could see him not even playing him, just sitting on the bench. And it's why not go down and get some reps in the G League? I think it's interesting. And another guy, Furkan Korkmaz, who's owed $5 million this year. Another guy we haven't talked about. What are we going to get from Furkan? I feel like we go through this process every year, right? It's that guy, he's shown potential, he's shown flashes, but now we're at the point where it's we're trying to win. We're trying to win now. Mm-hmm. Are those guys a part of that solution? Are they a part of that? I just don't know the answer.
Yeah, I'm starting to think on Korkmaz. I'm really, really close to a definite no. I know he's owed $5 million. I don't know how you figure it out. There's a lot of things that could happen throughout the rest of the offseason. Yeah, you can definitely throw him in a trade package with other players that are owed money that you're never going to play, like Jaden Springer. But I'd be more interested at this point in getting I think they can sign 2 veteran minimum guys, if I'm not mistaken. I just saw a number today that they're 4.4 under the apron and could possibly sign 2 veteran minimum players. And if you're in win now mode, I don't even think you're like juggling, should I get an experienced guy who's won an NBA championship or been deep in the playoffs and Markieff Morris, or do I maybe see if Korkmaz still has? No, like I think you're definitely on the other side of that, and even I think even Isaiah Joe, I'm gonna at this point, I don't see him being a major contributor at the NBA level right now, and I would maybe take certain guys that are available on veteran minimum contracts coming off the bench.
Yeah.
And Markieff Morris is one that I'm high on, and I'm also high on the possibility of it happening because he's already said he would like it.
Yeah.
And, at a vet minimum after not doing much last season because of the injury that he had, I think that could definitely happen.
Oh,
Markieff
yeah, no
Morris.
doubt. No doubt. And I think Daryl Morey always has something up his sleeve. I think he realizes, again, where we are at. I think he's going to go for as much experience as possible. And I'm at the point where, honestly, if you're not contributing, if you go on one of these stretches during the season where you're not, shooting for 10 games, like you gotta get withered out of the rotation, man. Like we need to have our core. We need to be ready. And I'll be honest with you, I'm still a little bit worried about our bench depth. Like I don't know until I see it if we have enough. I think we have pieces there, but how will it mesh? Right? Obviously, you're going to have to stagger, and that's another huge thing we'll, eventually get into. Like, what are the minutes going to be like? Will you end up bringing Maxey along with some of these bench guys at points in the game? Will you allow him to handle, because he can't play off the ball the whole game? And James Harden, unless he becomes a much better catch and shoot type of guy, who knows if he can do that? So definitely, I mean, it's going to take some creativity for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely going to take some creativity. And, again, Doc Rivers is not known to be the most creative, but,
yeah,
he is known to be the most, refusing to play young players. So
yeah,
I think I wouldn't be if we come out and D'Anthony Melton doesn't see the floor for the first 8 games of the season, I would the fan base would be irate, but it wouldn't be totally outside of Doc Rivers' personality to do that. But I think Melton has proven himself in the NBA enough off the bench that he's kind of a lock to get some bench minutes. But everything else is definitely up in the air. And but I just think, the options Doc had last season and then being the stubborn guy that he is, playing Furkan Korkmaz for 4 months and the guy got to the point where he was shooting 10% from 3. I don't think there's players – I think we have enough players that you don't have to go to a guy like that for 4 straight months. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. 400 plus in here. Hit that thumbs up wherever you're watching. We're live on 2 channels. Philly Take with RB, running back Philly. We're doing this every week. Give us your thoughts. Call into the show, 508-924-3784. What do you think could be the X factor then? Because I feel like we've talked about a lot of guys. I think the X factor of this team, off the bench at least, I think it's going to be Shake Milton, man. Like I said before, if we get the 10 to 15 points a night, Milton, I'm expecting Milton to get better with an increased role. He's already shown potential of what he can do. But if we get that solid Shake Milton and that guy that can attack, can be aggressive, and can stay healthy, I mean, that's a serious combo. And I think then you're starting to really talk about solidified bench production.
Yeah, the X factor off the bench, I think I would say the same thing. If, like I said, last season he just didn't look healthy the whole season to me. So I'm not going to totally write him off. I don't think that was him. I don't think that was himself. We've seen what he can play like even deep into the playoffs, saving Game 6 against Atlanta, or Game 5 was it? But he's a guy that doesn't really change based on pressure or anything like that. He's very cool, calm, and collected. And a lot of people talk about the Sixers need a backup point guard. I think he's a perfect backup point guard type of player. He slows the game down. He runs a pick and roll. He's very methodical and strategic with the ball and what he's going to do, and can just kind of run the shot clock out, get all the way to the rim. So I agree. If you get a good version of Shake Milton off the bench, I think that boosts your team greatly. That's why I think people being either too high on this team right now or too low on this team right now are a little bit crazy to me because there's some big ifs, and you can't really say this is going to happen and this is not going to happen.
Yeah.
There's potential for it to be really, really, really good. And that's what I'm excited about. If
Yeah,
it all blows up and it's not good, it would just be another day in Philly sports history. But I'm going to be optimistic, at least right now.
I think there is a contingency plan though for that, and I don't think we've had that before. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Shout out to Duncan with the super chat. Appreciate it. Says, with Harden playing the way he did in the playoffs, is his contract worth it? Well, with the way he played in the playoffs, absolutely not. But now with a full off season to get under his belt, again, still rehabbing from that injury and getting closer with these guys and building that connection. I mean, all the optics are great. Will he come back in shape? That is the biggest thing. And we'll see it right off the bat. We'll know, is he going to be that guy or not? But I think he has done everything right. I think the Sixers have done everything they can to this point to, one, upgrade the roster, get better. A lot of that falls on Harden. And I think if he comes back healthier and can maintain that, I think this team can be really good. I mean, we're talking about James Harden, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Tobias Harris. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, if you're talking about X factor overall, I would agree that it's probably James Harden, because if you get that, just like 5 months ago, the guy dropped a 40-point triple-double in Brooklyn. So it wasn't that long ago that he was still really, really, really good. And James Harden's a guy that you have to bet on. No matter how bad and worn down he looked or injured or whatever he looked last season deep into the playoffs, you still have to look at the past couple years before that and say, I have no choice but to bet on this guy. I have to bet that he's going to be great because it's James Harden. You have him, you have to bet on it. You just have to. If you're wrong, you're wrong, but you have to bet on him. It's like, it's a 10 against a 5 in blackjack. You have to.
You have to push it.
You have to play. Yeah, you have to.
Exactly.
Or actually, you would stay in that situation, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I might push it, but who knows? Shout out to my guy QWERTY with the $3 super chat. His thoughts on Maxey as a 6-man playing starter minutes. My personal opinion on that is I think anything other than Tyrese Maxey starting and getting a full game in is taking a step backwards. There's, you just can't go that direction with Maxey. I think he showed enough. He obviously took a huge leap, and you just can't look back, man. He is a starter in this league. He's ready to rock. I know he came up a little bit short in some of the playoff games. The kid's young for the most part. I mean, he did an excellent job this season. I think he's ready for more.
Yeah, you have to start Tyrese Maxey. He has a potential. I mean, there's just no reason to put him off the bench. It's not somebody the other day compared him to Tyler Hero. It might have been last week in the stream that we did on Thursday, but that's different to me because Tyler Hero can't guard me. I'm serious. I can score on Tyler Hero at least once. Tyrese Maxey, even at his size, only 6'2" or 6'3", whatever it is, can play a little bit of defense for his size. He's just a guy that's all over the place. There's no reason to bring him off the bench. Him being the high energy guy that he is at just 21 years old, guess what? You can leave him out there. He can start, and then when Joel and James go to the bench, Tyrese can be the transition player that stays out there. The bench comes out, and then he could be a 40-minute a game type of player. He doesn't have an injury history. He doesn't have, just play him. Play him as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, he can run like anything, man. I mean, like you said, he's young, and I mean, he's in the best shape of his life. The kid works hard every day. I don't think we're gonna, see a statistical leap, because how could you really do that in year 3 with how good he played this year? And I think people still, don't take all that into consideration. But I think what we're going to see is the maturity leap. I think we're going to see Tyrese Maxey get smarter, not turn it over as much, and really become more polished as a player. And just to see that at age 22 in year 3, and let's be honest, he didn't even really play that much the first year, and he should have gotten more minutes. It's scary, man. And I think people are kind of sleeping on Maxey, but not Philly fans, but in general. But they started to get his name out there when he had some of these big moments, some of these big games. I think after this year, they're going to be talking about Tyrese Maxey. He's going to be in the headlines a lot.
Yeah, his game's mostly been especially last year when James joined the team, his numbers came from catching and shooting. He shot a crazy percentage from three. And then a lot of his game came from just cutting to the basket and having like room to run because the defense was paying attention to Harden and Embiid. But I want people to think about this too. Every single day, Tyrese Maxey is working out, especially once they get into training camp and everything, is working out and practicing next to one of the best ISO players to ever play the game in James Harden. He's learning from him every single day. And if you add even a little bit of that offensive skill set, that one-on-one ISO ability to break guys down, the dribble step backs, all those kinds of things, if Tyrese Maxey picks up even a little bit of that and adds that to what he already has, he can be an absolutely lethal player. And I think you're going to see a lot more this season of Tyrese Maxey when James is off the floor being a kind of guy that lulls people to sleep, walks up, dribbles, hit, and gives them that little step back three and that little hesitation game and breaking guys down off the dribble. I think you're going to see a lot more of Tyrese Maxey breaking guys down off the dribble than you've seen.
Yeah, and he started to do that a little bit last year, right? Like he pulls up from deep, and man, he's going to be electric. I can't wait. I think he's the perfect athlete. Like I just think he's everything about Philadelphia. It could be scary, man, if things go well. But yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Still 400 up in here. This is an off-season show. I mean, we're breaking it down every week for you, man. Where are you getting this kind of coverage? We're here weekly, obviously on our own shows, just bringing you the coverage that you need, man. So we appreciate everybody, coming through and talking and giving their thoughts. All the callers, shout out to you guys as well. Let us know if you want us to continue doing this, man. I mean, I'm enjoying it. It's kind of like a nice recap show,
Yeah, for sure.
Going over everything that's going on, and it kind of keep things in perspective, right? I feel like it's a whole journey, and I feel like with a Philadelphia offseason, it there's always important things, man. Like there's never just a dry time. Even in the driest time that there is, which is right now, there's still things going on, right? James Harden starting off a new wine collection. I mean, there's just little things like that. It never ends, man. I love it. By the way, are you going to cop that wine when it drops?
No, absolutely not. No.
Not even a try, man. Not even a try. Not even just the bottle.
No. Nope.
I think I might have.
The thing about it is, I have a different opinion on things like that. I was a bartender for 14 years. I just don't touch a $16 bottle of wine. It's not going to be good. I'm sorry to tell everyone. And listen, man.
I don't know if it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be good.
No, here's the thing, and it'll give you a hell of a hangover because cheap wine has a whole bunch of sugar in it. All right, I'm gonna break it down for you guys. The science of it. But no, seriously though, from a business standpoint, I don't understand it personally because I don't think anybody that drinks wine wants to walk into a store and buy wine with an NBA player's face on it that's literally titled James Harden. And on the other side of it, I don't think people who don't drink wine are going to go drink wine because James Harden made a wine. So I don't understand the marketing of it whatsoever. But the bottle looks cool, and get your money, James. Whatever they paid you, I'm not mad at you for it.
I think James Harden just loves drinking. And I think, he just loves his wine. Like, by the way, shout out to Michael Rubin. Happy birthday to him. I think it's his 50th birthday. They just had a whole party, and all that. But I even saw Harden in the comments on Instagram. He was like, take some big shots for me. Like, I think Harden is just a natural drinker. Who knows? Maybe it could surprise some people. Yeah. And, given his fact that he loves it, right? Maybe he wants to drink some of his stuff. I don't know, though. But I agree with you. I think I'll just get it as like a souvenir, just to have.
Yeah, I like the bottle. Yeah, I might buy one just to have the bottle. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
But wine gives me a headache in general.
Yeah, not too much of a wine drink.
Yeah, in that quote, in that article, he said at 32, I don't shed fat as fast, and it sucks because I want to eat whatever I want and I want to drink wine all summer.
Yeah, dude, he's in with the big celebrities, man. Like he loves enjoying himself for sure. And that's apparent. But hey, as long as he comes focused on the court, man.
And guess what? Some of the games, I pointed this out last season. I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory or not, but he looked good in Philly. As soon as they went to Miami, he looked like trash. Guess what also starts to hit you very hard when you reach 32, 33, 34 years old? Hangovers, ladies and gentlemen. You can be hungover when you're 25 and play the game the next day and nobody will ever know. You can't be hungover when you're 33. It's insane. You don't have any energy. It's awful. And some of those games in Miami, I'm not going to lie, he might have been hungover. He might be learning the hard way. I can't play with a hangover anymore at 33 years old.
Hey, at least he's learning, man. At least he's learning. Shout out to Naquan in the chat. Says big ups from Trinidad. We got Trinidad in the house, man. We're global. Got everybody watching, man. Appreciate you guys constantly supporting the show. Aaron with the super chat. He says, I'm hyped for the Melton and a healthy Milton off the bench. Both can score and play D. Melton is a better rebounder, and Milton is a better playmaker. Yeah, I agree. I think that could be a lethal combo. I mean, the last time I was really wowed by Shake Milton, if I'm being honest, is when we were sitting in the stands watching him go off in that game too. I remember.
Yeah, we were there. Yep.
We didn't want him to come into the game because he hadn't looked good, and Doc just goes with a gut feeling, and I forget how many he had. I think it was like 12, 13 off the bench, and we're like, oh my gosh, man. And I want to get that spark back from Shake Milton. I'm rooting for the kid. This is really, though, his last chance in my eyes.
That was game 5, right?
Nah, that was wasn't that game 2 that we went to?
Oh, that was game 2.
Game 5 was that was just a terrible night. That was the epic collapse.
Yeah.
That was a night where things were not pretty for sure. But yeah, shout out to everybody. We got North Korea in the chat, man. Shouts to everybody. We appreciate it. I think it's just crazy too how much the Sixers fan base spans. Just this Philly fan base, a lot of diehards, man, and it's incredible.
I like this comment from Calvin Cambridge. He said 13 off the bench with laughy faces. It is like when you think about guys who really cook off the bench, like Jordan Clarkson. Like, yeah, you're not celebrating 13 off the bench, but I think Shake had 13. Like points almost in a row. You know what I mean? It was like it wasn't just total like 13 off the bench. It was like a streak of like, wow, this dude's unstoppable right now. So, it's all in perspective. But yeah, 13 off the bench doesn't sound crazy. But the way that it happened was like, and especially like I think our team was looking stale at the time. We needed somebody to create, and he was like, bam, here you go.
Yeah, we needed to win that game, and we did because of Shake Milton. And it is kind of funny, but we haven't had anybody consistently like that. So, we need it, man. We need it for sure.
Facts.
Once again, shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Hit that thumbs up button. Be sure to follow us on all our socials. There they are on the screen. Shouts to all the callers, man. Another edition, Sixers Weekly. We talked about the new potential stadium coming in 10 years. Think about where you'll be in 10 years.
Coming in 10 years.
Coming in a decade.
Wow.
We talked about Summer League. We talked about our potential lineups and our optimal starting lineup. So definitely, give it a listen, man. Maybe you watch it on the second time around when you're on your way to work. Who knows, man? But shouts to everybody, man. DJ, got anything else?
No. Why are people saying Nerlens Noel to Philly? What's up with him?
Isn't he a free agent, I think?
Yeah, I mean, no. People like to bring old players back a lot,
Yeah. Did he get traded? Was he in that?
I think he was in Dallas the last time I remember, and then he played for the Knicks. I think he played for the Knicks, and then he played for Dallas.
Yeah, he was with the Knicks, but wasn't he in that Pistons deal? Or who am I thinking of?
Too much happened.
Yeah, he was in that Pistons deal with Alec Burks, so he's in Detroit.
Oh, he's in Detroit.
Yeah, him and Burks got moved to the Pistons. They were clearing cap space.
I'm just listen. Even when people bring up Markelle Fultz, I'm a no because I'm just not interested in past projects that failed. I'm not interested in trying it again. Even if that player figures it out somewhere else, that's great. I'm not interested in it. I don't see any benefit of Nerlens Noel really.
Yeah.
Sucks, but I think he was overrated coming into the NBA, and I think you found out really what he is, a guy that can block 15 shots in college because he can jump high and was really tall. And then he got to the NBA and was like, oh, this guy just isn't that much of anything.
To be fair, he was also in a very awkward situation, along with the likes of Embiid, Okafor. Like, it just didn't make sense.
He was a big lob threat guy, with Ish Smith. That was fun to watch when the Sixers weren't fun to watch. Yeah. I will pride myself on being one of the only people that I knew in real life who was actively watching Sixers games at the time. So shout out to Nerlens Noel. It was fun to watch. They were always down by 20 or 30. You knew they were going to lose, but
Made the win special, man. Made the win special.
I would be like sitting at a bar before a DJ gig and be like, yo, can you put the Sixers game on? The bartender would be like, what? You want me to put what on the TV? Aren't they like 10 and 90? Yeah.
It was crazy. I mean, those were some days for sure. Chat said if they get bought out. I mean, yeah, you know, potentially look at it. There's a couple of guys like that on the market. We'll have to wait and see.
KJ McDaniels, good Lord. Are we just naming process player? Oh, process legend. Okay, I was going to say, that guy's not in the NBA, is he?
Nah,
man.
No way. He did have that one crazy dunk, though. I'll never forget it.
Made his whole short career off of a no-look dime from Tony Roten. I almost forgot his name. Tony Roten with the no-look hook shot dime for the alley-oop. I remember that play exactly.
We got to end it off on that one, man. Now we're bringing up Tony Roten.
Time to go.
Shots to everybody for coming through, man. Sixers Weekly, man. Philly Take with RB. Run it back, Philly. RB, DJ Eastwood. Shouts to you guys for rocking with us, man. Appreciate everybody for coming through. We won't be back next week. I'll be gone on vacation, but we'll be back the week after. So who knows? I don't think any signings will happen anyway, but we'll see. Daryl Morey always has something up his sleeve. DJ, appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man. Love it. Thanks
good.
for having me. Thanks for everyone coming through. Yeah, you know, let's make it an every Thursday thing. I know you're on vacation next week, but moving into the season, man, let's try to do it.
Let's do it, man. Shouts to the chat. You guys have a great night. Be safe, everybody. Peace.